I was a professor of sociology for 42 years, and I still walked $50,000 into a public park and left it under a bench like a forgotten lunch bag. I didn't question it, I didn't stop, and I am drowning in the shame of it. My name is Dr. Evelyn Vance. I am 75 years old. I spent my life teaching young minds at Howard University about the structures of power, about institutional control, about the way systems can manipulate the individual. I wrote books about it. I stood in lecture halls and explained the psychology of authority. I told my students, question everything, especially the person holding the clipboard. And yet somehow, I became the subject of my own lecture, the case study, the cautionary tale. I live alone now. My husband, Robert, passed 6 years ago. He was an engineer, a man of great logic. He built bridges, literal ones, the kind you drive across in Baltimore. I have his picture on the mantle, and every morning I look at it and say, I'm still here, Robert. Some days that feels like a victory. Some days it feels like a punishment. I am telling this story because silence is what the scammers rely on. They bank on your humiliation. They expect you to lock the door and never speak of it. But I have spent my life speaking difficult truths. This is the hardest one. And if you think this cannot happen to you because you have a degree, or because you read the newspaper, or because you are suspicious of strangers, then you are exactly the person who needs to listen. It was a Tuesday, mid-morning. I had just finished pruning the rose bushes. My hands were still dirty with soil, which is relevant because it explains why I was flustered. My cell phone rang, not my landline, which still has the old number Robert and I shared, my cell phone. The number on the screen was unknown. Normally, I let those go to voicemail. I am not a person who feels compelled to answer a ringing phone. But I was expecting a call from my cardiologist's office about a change in my appointment, so I answered. Vance Residence, I said, old habit. I always answer formally when I don't know the caller. The voice on the other end was a woman, crisp and professional.
Am I speaking with Dr. Evelyn Vance? This is Special Agent Patricia Maloney with the Office of the Inspector General, Department of Justice.
My heart did a little skip. Not panic, but surprise. The Department of Justice? I wiped the soil on my gardening apron and stood up straighter. May I ask what this is regarding? I said. I kept my voice even. I was a professor. I knew how to speak to officials.
Dr. Vance, I regret to inform you that your identity has been compromised in a major national security breach. Are you in a place where you can speak privately? This is a matter of extreme sensitivity.
I went inside. I sat down at the kitchen table. Robert's chair was empty across from me, as always. I can speak, I said. Special Agent Maloney explained the situation in precise, chilling detail. My Social Security number had been used to open 17 credit accounts in Dallas, Texas. My name was on a rental agreement for a storage unit that had been raided by the FBI. The unit contained materials linked to an organization on the International Terrorism Watch List. Terrorism? I said. The word felt absurd in my kitchen that smelled like lavender and old wood.
Yes, ma'am. We believe the individuals who stole your identity are using it to funnel money through shell corporations. Dr. Vance, you are not a suspect. Let me be very clear about that. You are a victim, but you are also now a material witness in a sealed federal investigation.
She used the word sealed. That was important. That explained why I could not tell anyone.
This case is being handled at the highest level. We are coordinating with the U.S. Marshal Service and the Treasury Department. Your cooperation is essential, but it must be absolute, and it must be silent. Do you understand what silent means in this context?
I told her I did. And I did understand. Or I thought I did. She told me she was transferring me to her supervising officer, a man named Chief Deputy Inspector Michael T. Rourke. There was a click, then hold music. Not music exactly, but a low buzzing tone, and then a deep male voice barked into the line.
Dr. Vance, this is Inspector Rourke. I've been briefed on your file. We have a window of about 3 hours to act before the suspects realize we're on to them.
The shift in tone was dramatic. Agent Maloney had been almost gentle. Rourke was abrupt, authoritative, a little impatient. He spoke like a man who had 100 other things to do and no time for hesitation.
Here is the situation. We have located the primary cell operating under your identity in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We are mounting an operation to seize their physical assets. But to do that, we need bait.
Bait? I repeated.
A sum of money that we can trace. We need you to withdraw $50,000 from your bank account, in cash. We will give you a special agent identification number and an evidence voucher. You will be fully protected under the Victim Restitution Act. The money leaves your account, but it is technically already replaced at the federal level. It's a paper move. Do you follow?
I did not follow, but I felt like I should follow. He was a deputy inspector. He was speaking to me as if I were a colleague, someone capable of assisting in a high-stakes operation. I'm just an old woman, I said. I remember saying that. I don't know if I can do what you're asking. His voice softened just fractionally.
Dr. Vance, you are a respected academic. You understand social structures. You understand the importance of dismantling networks that prey on the innocent. This network is using your name to harm people. We need you to help us stop them. Can you do that?
He appealed to my intellect, to my sense of social duty. He found the latch and lifted it. Yes, I said, I can. The bank was only a 10-minute drive. I changed out of my gardening clothes into a navy blue skirt and blazer. I wanted to look presentable, respectable. I was representing a federal investigation, after all. Inspector Rourke stayed on the line the entire time. He told me to put my phone in my purse, but not to hang up. He said he needed to maintain an evidentiary chain of audio continuity. I had never heard that phrase before. It sounded like something from a courtroom drama. At the bank, I approached the teller, a young woman named Jennifer, who had processed my deposits for the past 3 years. She smiled when she saw me. The shift in tone was dramatic. Agent Maloney had been almost gentle. Rourke was abrupt, authoritative, a little impatient. He spoke like a man who had 100 other things to do and no time for hesitation.
Dr. Vance, how is your garden?
I wanted to say, "It's fine, dear," but Rourke's voice was in my ear, a tiny whisper from the phone in my purse. He was telling me to stay focused, to be discreet. "I need to make a large withdrawal," I said. My voice sounded strange to me, hollow.
Jennifer smiled, faded slightly.
"Of course. How much are we talking about?" $50,000. I slid my withdrawal slip across the counter. My hand was trembling just slightly. Jennifer noticed. I saw her notice.
Is everything okay, Dr. Vance? Is there something you need this money for, if you don't mind me asking?
I had been trained for this question. Rourke had coached me in the car. "I am renovating my kitchen," I said. "The contractor only takes cash." This is the part where I need to pause and tell you. The teller did ask. She was suspicious. She was doing her job. But the lie was clean, and the liar was a 75-year-old professor who had never had so much as a bounce check. Jennifer handed me a manila envelope full of $100 bills. I put it in my purse. I walked out of the bank. Rourke's voice came back loud in my ear.
Good. You've done well. Proceed to phase 2.
Phase 2 was where the surreal became the absurd, and I still did not question it. Rourke instructed me to drive to Druid Hill Park. Not the main entrance by the conservatory, but the old maintenance road on the east side, near the reservoir. He told me to take the money out of the manila envelope and put it inside a plastic grocery bag. A grocery bag? I said.
Yes, ma'am. We need the asset drop to look unremarkable. A plain white or tan plastic bag. Nothing that stands out. If it looks like trash, the surveillance targets won't notice it. Our agents will retrieve it within 90 seconds of placement.
I did not have a plastic bag in the car. I stopped at a giant food supermarket on the way. I bought a loaf of wheat bread and a small container of potato salad, just to have a reason to take a bag. I paid with a $20 bill. I remember thinking, this is absurd. I am buying potato salad in the middle of a federal terrorism investigation. But I did it, because Rourke's voice was in my head, and the fear was a fog, and the fog had swallowed all my critical thinking. At the park, I parked my car under a sycamore tree. The maintenance road was muddy. There was a green metal bench near a trailhead. Rourke told me to walk over, place the bag under the bench, and walk back to my car without looking back.
Under no circumstances do you turn around. We have plainclothes agents in position. If you turn around, you compromise them. If they are compromised, this operation fails and the suspects will flee. Do you understand, Dr. Vance?
I understood. I walked the bag to the bench. The plastic handles were slippery in my sweaty palm. I set it down on the wet ground. A few stray raindrops began to fall. I walked back to my car, staring straight ahead, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. And then I drove home.
The drive home was silent. Rourke had said he would call me back within 2 hours to confirm the operation's success. He told me to wait by the phone. I did. I made a cup of tea. I sat in Robert's chair because my chair felt too far away from everything. 2 hours passed, then 3, then 4. The tea went cold. The house grew dark. I did not turn on the lights. At 6:30 that evening, I called the number back, the 1-800 number that had come up on my phone. The line rang once, and then a recording played.
You have reached a number that is not in service.
I called the Office of the Inspector General's real number, the one I found on the government website. I was transferred 3 times before a very tired-sounding woman came on the line. I explained in halting sentences that I was Dr. Evelyn Vance, and I was assisting a Special Agent Maloney with a terrorism investigation. There was a long pause.
Ma'am, there is no Agent Maloney here, and no Inspector Rourke. I think you need to call your local police department.
The world didn't just go quiet. It collapsed inward. The walls of the kitchen seemed to lean in toward me. The photograph of Robert on the mantel looked at me, and I could not look back. I had carried $50,000 into a public park and left it for a stranger to pick up. And the worst part? I had done it willingly. I had been proud to do it. I had believed I was a hero.
I need to stop the story here for a moment. I need to look away from the memory and look directly at you, whoever you are, watching this. This is the part where I want to fall silent. This is the part where I want to hide. But I am a teacher, and a teacher's job is not to hide from the lesson. It is to stand in front of the classroom, even when the lesson is about her own failure. Please, share this video. Send it to your friends, your book club, your bridge group. Send it to anyone you know who trusts a calm voice on the other end of a phone. Because the people who did this to me are not just criminals. They are artists of the mind. They painted a world around me so real that I lived in it for 6 hours. And if they could do that to me, they can do it to anyone. I don't want your pity. I want your vigilance. That is the only repayment I will ever accept. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I stayed up, replaying every moment in my head. The way Maloney's voice had that soft, maternal cadence. The way Rourke had coughed like a man who smoked too many cigarettes. A detail that made him feel like a real, lived-in human being. The scammers had created an entire soundscape. When Rourke was talking, I heard background noises, the clatter of keyboards, the murmur of other agents. Once, someone in the background shouted, "Martinez, get me the file on the Henderson case." It was staged. It was all staged. A radio drama designed for an audience of one. And they had weaponized my education against me. They didn't treat me like an ignorant senior citizen. They treated me like a peer. They used words like evidentiary and sealed indictment. They fed my ego a 5-course meal while they picked my pocket. I went to my bank the next day to report the fraud. Jennifer, the teller, saw me walk in and her face fell. She knew something was wrong. When I told her, she started to cry. She said, "I knew it. I knew something was wrong. I should have stopped it." But it wasn't her fault. It was mine. And the scammers. Mostly the scammers. But here is the truth I have had to swallow. The scammers did not steal my money. I handed it to them. I withdrew it. I packaged it. I delivered it. They never touched it. They just talked me into doing the work for them. That is the genius of this kind of manipulation. They turn you into the weapon.
My son, Marcus, came to visit a week later. He lives in Chicago with his wife and 2 daughters. He didn't know what had happened. I hadn't told him yet. But he walked into the house, looked at my face, and said, "Mama, you look like you've seen a ghost." I broke down, right there, in the front hallway. I told him everything. The phone call, the park bench, the plastic grocery bag. I watched his face cycle through horror, confusion, and then a deep, aching sadness. He didn't yell at me. That was the worst part. He just held me. He said, "Mama, why didn't you call me?" And the answer was the razor's edge of the whole tragedy. I didn't call him because the scammers had told me not to. They had told me the investigation was sealed. They had told me that if I told anyone, I would be obstructing a federal investigation. They had walled me off from the one person who could have saved me. That's the playbook. Isolate the victim. Create a bubble of fear and urgency. Sever the lines of support. It worked perfectly. I am not going to tell you that I have recovered emotionally. I haven't. I still flinch when my phone rings. I still delete emails from people I don't know without opening them, which is good practice, I suppose, but I do it out of fear, not wisdom. But I am going to give you something practical, something I have built from the rubble of this experience. I call them the authority survival rules. Rule number 1, verify through a separate channel. If someone calls you from the government, from the bank, from the police, hang up. Look up the number yourself. Call the main line. If it's real, they'll be able to transfer you. If they tell you not to hang up, they are lying. Real officials do not care if you verify their identity. Only scammers do. Rule number 2, there is no such thing as a secret investigation involving your money. The government does not need your cash to catch criminals. They do not need you to withdraw money to serve as bait. That is not how evidence works. That is not how anything works. Repeat this to yourself. Money never leaves my hand at the government's request. Rule number 3, slow down or lose everything. The urgency is the scam. The rush is the weapon. If someone tells you that you have to act immediately, stop. Take a breath. Call someone you trust. Tell them what is happening. The simple act of speaking the scam out loud can break the spell. And finally, rule number 4, shame is the only lasting injury. The money is gone, I accept that. But the shame, I refuse to carry it. I am not the criminal here. I am the victim of a highly sophisticated psychological operation. And so are you if this has happened to you. Say it to yourself. I was targeted. I was manipulated. I am not stupid. I stand at my classroom window now. Not a real classroom, but the study where I mentor young graduate students remotely. I tell them about sociology, about power structures, about how authority is a construct that can be weaponized. And sometimes I tell them my story. I watch their young faces on the video screen, eyes wide, mouths slightly open. They can't believe it. They think, that would never happen to me. I pray it doesn't, but I know now that it can happen to anyone. It happened to their professor. The woman who taught them about structural manipulation was structurally manipulated. The irony is not lost on me. But here is what I have left. I have my voice, I have this story, I have the lesson. And if one person watching this remembers to hang up the phone and call their son, their daughter, their bank, their real, actual bank, then this nightmare had a purpose. Don't let the scammers have the last word. Give me the last word. Share this. Talk about it. Make the secret lose its power. The phone will ring, probably today, probably tomorrow. When it does, let it ring. And then think of me. Think of the park bench. Think of the plastic grocery bag, wet with rain, full of a lifetime of dignity. And do not pick up.